Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Sandy Smith, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flight Lieutenant Glenn McCormack. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We warmly welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's first World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Robert Herbert William Harley. Herbert Harley was born on the 6th of August 1891 in Bungaree, near Lismore in New South Wales. Known as Herb, he was one of 9 children born to station overseer Joseph Harley and his wife Mary. Herb received his education at the local public school and was working as a blacksmith in South Lismore when the First World War broke out in 1914. Herb Harley enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 9th of October 1915. He was assigned to A Company of the 42nd Battalion and commenced a short period of training in Australia. He embarked for active service on the 5th of June 1916, sailing from Sydney on the troop ship Border. After several weeks at sea, Private Harley and his comrades disembarked in Egypt. They remained for a few days before travelling to France, arriving in the port city of Marseille after a week at sea. From there, they began their journey north, travelling by train. In a letter home to his mother, Harley wrote, "I'm satisfied, Mum, that I've seen the prettiest country in the world. No wonder the French fight well for it. The scenery along the line is beautiful to look at, and we've had a good reception all the way by the French. You'd see them running everywhere, waving and throwing kisses. They have a great liking for the Australians." On arrival at their destination, Private Harley and his comrades boarded another ship to cross the English Channel, arriving in Southampton on the 23rd of July 1916. From there, they marched to Salisbury Plain and joined thousands of other Australian troops at Camp Lark Hill. Harley continued training for several weeks before being granted leave to London with a few of his comrades. In a letter home, he described the trip. "London is a terrible big place. It would take a good deal to see it all. I think I saw the principal places. I was all through the Tower of London, St Paul's, Westminster Abbey. I was staying near Buckingham Palace and saw the guards mounting of a morning. It was very pretty to watch them. It's a busy place and I don't know what it must be like during peacetime." Private Harley's unit embarked for France, arriving in November 1916, just as a bitterly cold winter began to set in. The 42nd Battalion entered the front lines in late December and endured freezing conditions in the trenches or labouring in the rear areas. Early 1917 was marked by the German strategic withdrawal to the fortified Hindenburg Line. Australian units were involved in several bloody clashes as they pursued the enemy toward their new front line. Private Harley wrote his experiences saying, "I am okay myself, just out of doing another 7 days in the trenches, and it was a lively 7 too. I thought the end of the world had come. Once Fritz started, he threw everything out of Spartucker. I think he threw the foundry the shells were made in. I was at it the whole time. It lasted for 4 hours without a break. I tell you, it was some lively. It beats me how we got off so lucky. We got our backs the next day and the artillery got to work on them. It is very cold here. The snow has been lying on the ground for over a week and the creeks are all iced over." Harley's unit was later transferred to Belgium, taking up positions on the Ypres salient in May. Here, Harley took part in his first major battle of the war, when the Allies attacked Messines Ridge. The battle began in the early hours of the morning of the 7th of June 1917, when 19 mines lay beneath German lines were detonated. The explosion destroyed the enemy's front line, creating hundreds of massive craters and allowing the Allies to advance on their objective almost unopposed. Harley's 3rd Division encountered enemy resistance during its advance through Ploegjeet Wood when it was attacked by German phosgene gas shells, causing some 500 casualties. Despite this setback, the high ground along Messines Ridge had been successfully taken by 5:30 that morning in a rapid victory. Harley took defensive duties with his unit as it defended gains made during the attack at Messines. The 42nd Battalion was manning the front lines on the 3rd of July 1917 when it came under attack. Among the dead was Private Herb Harley. His commanding officer wrote to Harley's parents, I hope this will convey to you and your family my sincere sympathy in the death of your son Herb, who was killed not many yards away from me in the trenches. I knew him in private life, and I know how much he will be missed by all the boys. He was number one on the Lewis gun, and shows you what a steady and conscientious soldier he was, and what a loss he is to the battalion. He was with his gun and his team when he was killed, 3 others being wounded at the same time. He was buried at Messine, and his pals had a cross made with his name and number on it erected at the resting place. Today, Herb Harley's remains lie buried at Messine Ridge British Cemetery, beneath the inscription chosen by his parents. To know him was to love him. He fought and died for his king and country. Herb Harley was 24 years old. His name is listed on the honour roll to my right on panel 135, among almost 62,000 other Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Herb William Harley, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.